Welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of He Was the Only One Who Didn't Regress but Still Became the Strongest Player. You can watch the previous part on this channel. I put a link in the description below. Let's continue the story. Above the head of the monster, which had one huge red eye, the words, "Old Mole level 19 inches" were written. Lee Hwa-young realized that he needed to kill these monsters, the blue-eyed moles, in order for the level 20 golden leopard gate to appear. If any other player on the planet cleared a level 19 dungeon, the level 20 gate would open. However, it seemed that there were no other players capable of clearing a level 19 dungeon yet, so it was up to Lee Hwa-young to eliminate the blue-eyed moles. A police officer wearing a bulletproof vest approached the main character and requested to see his documents. Lee Hwa-young observed that it seemed like they were trying to evacuate everyone from the area. Calmly, the main character replied that he didn't have his documents with him. Suddenly, a loud sound rang out, and the police officer turned around to face a gray, one-eyed mole that leapt out of the ground with a squeak. The police officers were ordered to open fire, and they began shooting their automatic weapons. The police officer warned the main character to leave the zone as it was dangerous and informed him that their guns were ineffective against the creatures. The officer asked if the main character was a player, to which he replied affirmatively. Behind the police officer, a blue-eyed mole leapt up, swinging its huge clawed paw. With his eyes glowing red, the main character stared at the mole before using the petrification skill. The mole froze in place, unable to move, and collapsed to the ground. The police officer recoiled in surprise, and the main character grabbed the mole by the neck with a dark hand, crushing it with a tight grip. As the mole was defeated, a system message appeared, indicating that the main character had altered the future and gained an additional point. The police officer allowed him to pass and wished him good luck. Lee Hwa-young descended the underground steps towards the red portal, contemplating the cunning nature of the red-eyed moles compared to the other aggressive and simple-minded monsters. Near the portal, there were only 15 red-eyed moles present. Lee Hwa-young questioned when they would be able to leave, noticing numerous holes in the ground in front of him. Digging them out individually would be time-consuming, so he decided to try a different approach. The main character accessed his inventory, and a blue system message appeared. A voice from the system warned him about the extremely harmful fumes that would be released if he burned the fur of blue monkeys. Lee Hwa-young remembered Kim Min-soo mentioning using the smoke from burnt blue monkey fur to lure out monsters. He had saved up some fur for this purpose. Kneeling down, he realized that the 15 moles had caused a significant disturbance in his previous life. A mole suddenly sprung out of the ground, swinging its clawed paw. The main character blocked the attack with his dark hand, gripping the mole's neck tightly and crushing it. He then held out a tuft of fur to the next hole, repeating the process. With each successful encounter, a system message appeared, indicating that the future had been changed and granting an additional point. Surrounded by smoke-filled burrows, he counted to 15 as the system messages announced an increased level and awarded additional points. All the monsters in the dungeon had been defeated, and the remaining time for the gate's destruction was 3 minutes. Kim Min-soo contacted the main character through the phone, expressing concern about the presence of many reporters. Lee Hwa-young instructed him to get rid of them and assured that he would arrive soon. Kim Min-soo found it suspicious that no guild members were present and wondered why they were unaware of the main character's stealth ability. The main character suggested that they understand the consequences if they dared to come, implying that they would not return home. The police officers acknowledged Lee Hwa-young as the fearless one who had defeated all the moles in just half an hour. The main character stood next to a parked police car while having a conversation with Kim Min-soo. Kim Min-soo apologized for not being able to eliminate the reporters, and the main character stated that he would resolve everything once and for all. As Lee Hwa-young entered the crowd, people turned their heads to look at him. A reporter handed him a tape recorder and asked for his thoughts on players worldwide complaining about him. Another female reporter approached with a paper in her hand, inquiring if he was intentionally trying to undermine the morale of other players. The individual holding the camera stated that the world was currently experiencing catastrophic destruction, with high-level monsters appearing at a much faster rate than before. They asked the main character if he felt responsible for this situation. Enthusiastic fans requested autographs and the opportunity to take pictures with him. Surrounded by microphones, Lee Hwa-young stood with a raised eyebrow, finding the chaos noisy and bothersome. Having been a mercenary and living amidst explosions and gunfire, he had grown to appreciate silence. Memories of the battlefield explosion came to his mind. Lee Hua-young saw this as an opportunity to ensure that reporters and other pests would keep their distance of at least 100 meters from him. He believed it was their own fault for being weak and emphasized the need for them to try harder. When asked if he truly thought so, the main character affirmed with a grim expression that weakness was not a sin, but those who complained about their fate deserved hell. A reporter with dark red hair asked for his thoughts on Bard, a representative of Canada who entered the last dungeon, claiming that Lee Hua-young was an overrated player who would eventually become the weakest among high-level players in the later stages of the game. Curious about the channel with the highest viewership, a guy in a yellow shirt and a girl with pink hair eagerly raised their hands. Lee Hua-young inquired about the name of the Canadian player, and the reporter with dark red hair responded that his name was Bobard. As camera flashes surrounded him, the main character raised his middle finger, explaining with a smile that it was directed at Bard. A blue system message appeared, indicating the Golden Leopard dungeon and its maximum of 7 players. The dungeon's difficulty was rated B+, and Lee Hua-young realized that hunting 7 golden leopards on this difficulty wouldn't be easy. Standing before the 3 leopards enveloped in a blue aura, he understood that the dungeon's difficulty also determined the rarity of the items obtainable within it, and B+ represented the highest quality available. With a frown, Lee Hua-young thrust his fist, which emitted a blue glow, towards the charging leopard, striking it in the chest. The leopard snarled in anger, causing the main character to twitch and temporarily lose the ability to use skills due to the golden leopard's roar. The 2 leopards growled menacingly, making him realize that he couldn't hunt them as easily as before. Spreading out his hands, Lee Hua-young grinned and acknowledged that he probably couldn't use his skills in this situation. As a leopard charged, the protagonist swiftly dodged, morphing into a dark form. He wished for armor, knowing that even a slight graze from the leopard's fangs or claws would cause him to bleed. The leopards looked ahead in surprise as the main character struck one of them in the face with his fist. He pondered the idea of blocking their attacks with his forearm if he had armor and then killing them one by one. Unfortunately, he didn't possess any armor. Lee Hua-young stood next to the dead leopard, with 2 pairs of red eyes staring back at him from the darkness. The crowd of leopards roared, and the main character beckoned them over with a sinister grin, surrounded by a blue aura. With a sinister smile, Lee Hua-young seized the charging leopard by its neck, causing the dead leopard to collapse onto the ground. The 2 leopards behind him fixated their gaze on the main character. He contemplated making another move as he noticed a pair of red eyes lurking in the darkness behind him. Growling menacingly, the leopard charged once again. Grinning, the main character called for an end to the encounter. Behind Lee Hua-young lay a pile of lifeless leopards as he advanced while gripping the tail of the leopard. A system message materialized before him, announcing the defeat of the level 20 golden leopards and the reception of a reward. Thoughtfully observing the system message, he wondered if he would need to reopen them to claim what he deserved. The main character's surprise grew as he discovered a new item in his inventory. He reached into the system message, revealing a description of a dagger enveloped in a red aura, an instrument of destruction capable of wreaking havoc on its wielder and everyone in its proximity. Realizing that he could harness the effects of his skills while wielding the dagger, Lee Hua-young playfully touched its blade with his finger and expressed satisfaction. The system message proclaimed the defeat of all monsters in the dungeon and the imminent destruction of the gate, with a remaining time of 3 minutes. Finding the dagger peculiar due to its lack of stats or additional damage, the main character pondered whether he had finally obtained the weapon he had wielded in his previous life. Grasping the dagger in his hand, he activated the armor skill, causing both the dagger and his hand to turn black. Upon utilizing stealth, the dagger and his body vanished from sight. Chuckling to himself, Lee Hua-young relished in the acquisition of his skills. He noted that unlike other weapons, the dagger lacked stats but could acquire skill effects. In other words, the stronger the main character became, the more potent the dagger would be. With his hands casually tucked into his pants pockets, Lee Young strolled toward the entrance of the dungeon and emerged from the portal into the city, where reporters swarmed around him. The reporters mentioned rumors linking him to the fearless ID in the game and inquired about its veracity. Lee Hua-young furrowed his brow. They further questioned whether the Golden Leopard dungeon had been cleared and if any weapons from his previous life were discovered within. He contemplated the reporters encircling him and glanced at Kim Min-soo in the crowd, who stood with folded hands as if pleading for their removal. Lee Hua-young mused that he had asked Kim Min-soo to handle them while he was in the dungeon, but evidently, it hadn't been successful. He deemed it forgivable since he lacked the power and authority to enforce such actions. After a pause, he wondered why players were not among the reporters, eagerly seeking his skills and items. The fact that the reporters were present while the players were not vexed him. The man with the microphone grinned and inquired about the timing of his acquisition of the unique God's Eye skill. A man in a blue jacket and blonde hair also grinned and handed him a microphone. The main character looked at him in surprise, his thoughts drifting to the Eye of God. Lee Hwa-young inquired about the Eye of God, stealing a glance at Kim Min-soo, who nodded in response. People bombarded him with questions about his current skills, expressing curiosity on behalf of many. Another voice urged him to say something, and the main character found himself surrounded by a barrage of camera flashes. Another voice inquired about his level and stats. Lee Hwa-young replied that he was currently at level 24, with a strength stat of 1033. Frowning, he observed the reporters exchanging surprised glances. Stepping forward, he caused the reporters in front of him to part, and he mentioned hearing that his actions were now legally permissible. As he departed, he hinted with a sinister grin that anyone who dared to harass him would meet their demise. The following day, chaos once again consumed the world. A newspaper headline, accompanied by a photo of Lee Hwa-young flipping the middle finger, proclaimed, "Middle finger in response to Bard's provocations." Another headline declared, "Force 1033, the appearance of God." A third headline read, "Golden Leopard Dungeon cleared in under 40 minutes, unparalleled achievement." Yet another headline featured a quote from North Korea's foreign minister, stating, "Lee Hwa-young must be stopped. Few can handle monsters in North Korea." Lastly, an article warned, "If you interfere with me, I will kill you," featuring a photo of the main character gesturing the threat and a quote refusing interviews. Lee Hwa-young revisited the topic of the Eye of God, prompting Kim Min-soo to explain that while he wasn't certain if it was its actual name, it was a skill Lee Hwa-young possessed in his previous life. The main character pondered the significance of the skill and questioned what it enabled him to do. Kim Min-soo clarified that it allowed him to view player stats and inventories. Surprised, Lee Hwa-young contemplated the fact that the God's Eye was a skill he had possessed in his previous life. Kim Min-soo raised his index finger, asserting that it was a unique skill that not only existed as a singular instance but also grew significantly stronger when enhanced. He emphasized that the power of unique skills stemmed not only from their rarity but also from their exponential increase in strength upon leveling up. Hwa-young considered the notion that by increasing his stealth level, he could render touched objects invisible. Similarly, unique skills not only augmented their stats but also acquired new effects. Elevating the level of a unique skill was often referred to as the second awakening. Kim Min-soo crossed his arms and closed his eyes, asserting that as the sole possessor of the skill, only Lee Hwa-young truly knew its true potential. Rumors circulated that at the second level of the skill, he could detect subtle changes in opponents' pupils or discern the rhythm of their hearts from a distance. He added that, considering his tendency to strike only at weak spots, the eye could be even more terrifying. Lee Hwa-young asked about their current location, to which Kim Min-soo replied that he didn't know but pulled something out of his pocket, suggesting it might be of assistance. He showed Lee Hwa-young his phone screen, displaying the words, "Clear Dungeons." He explained that there was a high chance, but not a guarantee, of finding information. The screen indicated the title, Golden Leopard Dungeon, level 20 and the location is South Korea. Observing the phone screen, the main character remarked on the abundance of dungeons. He recognized that the sheer number posed a challenge and acknowledged that he wouldn't be able to clear them all. Lee Hwa-young contemplated the regression of all players and speculated that there would undoubtedly be individuals who desired the Eye of God. He believed it wouldn't be limited to just a few people, but rather encompass large guilds and low-level players alike. Kim Min-soo intervened and urged him to understand that he was one of the strongest players in the past, which had sparked numerous discussions. Confused, the main character questioned why Kim Min-soo raised his index finger and mentioned the circulating rumors. Kim Min-soo explained that he was referring to the discussions about Lee Hwa-young's abilities. This caused the main character to furrow his brow and inquire about what was being said about him. Kim Min-soo revealed that major guilds in South Korea possessed extensive information about every player who entered the last dungeon. He questioned whether Lee Hwa-young believed they were aware of the regression event in advance. The main character found the notion absurd that they would have foreknowledge of the regression. However, He considered the possibility that collecting information about the strongest players before anyone else could obtain their skills and items would be a smart move. Kim Min-soo clarified that he had limited knowledge of the regression. Curious, Lee Hwa-young sought clarification on the guild's intention to kill players. Kim Min-soo explained that the large guilds had detailed information on renowned players, including when and where they acquired their items and skills. The main character questioned the connection between murder and this information. Kim Min-soo responded that there was indeed a connection, highlighting the failed attempts at stealing Lee Hwa-young's stealth in the past. He added that they would devise new strategies to minimize the effectiveness of his stealth, as numerous individuals were keeping a close eye on him. Considering the sheets of information about his past life as treasure maps, the main character realized they would guide others to the items and skills he possessed. Kim Min-soo, wearing a somber expression, disclosed that he, like other players, had been a member of a guild in his previous life, and their guild had engaged in similar practices. He explained that in this world, stealing skills and items from others had become commonplace as they held significant value. The main character admitted his continued confusion and inquired about how they knew where other players obtained their skills and items if they recorded such information. Kim Min-soo responded that they would note the gate the players had cleared. If someone had a skill in Gate 2 but not in Gate 1, it could be deduced that they obtained it in Gate 1. Lee Hwa-young speculated that players were willing to kill others for the sake of obtaining valuable items and skills, and to make things easier for themselves, they meticulously monitored the actions of such players. He then asked about the Poison King Guild, a prominent guild in Korea that had always been at the top. Choi Chul-sung, the guild's leader, was one of the individuals who entered the last dungeon. Lee Hwa-young deduced that due to the guild's size, they possessed an immense capacity for gathering information. Furthermore, since they had attempted to steal his stealth, it was highly likely that they knew the whereabouts of other skills and items as well. With a nostalgic smile, he mentioned that he and Choi Chul-sung had an unspoken arrangement of sorts. He believed he knew the reason why no one was present at the Golden Leopard Gate. The main character explained that they were likely preparing for a more significant skill, namely the Eye of God. He stated that regressors had little use for items unless they were of legendary quality. Kim Min-soo added that regressors could safely craft items using materials from dungeons because they possessed knowledge of recipes. He further noted that numerous companies were involved in manufacturing during their past lives. The main character suggested that there might be two reasons for the absence of not only the general guild but also other players at that particular gate. Curious, Kim Min-soo inquired about those reasons. The main character speculated whether it would be easier for others to kill him once he had already collected most of the items. He imagined a crowd of armored men wielding swords, daggers, and staffs. Lee Hwa-young remarked that killing him at that point would save them a considerable amount of time, but it would only be possible if they succeeded. Kim Min-soo declared such an outcome to be impossible. The main character agreed with a smile, stating that the only reason they didn't take the dagger was that they feared it, and now they wanted nothing to do with it. A post appeared on the game's website, the Republic of Korea, announcing the successful clearance of the level 21 Black Orc dungeon by Poison Choi on January 11, 1231. Looking at the system message, the main character grinned and commented that he was making progress. He believed that players from other countries like the United States and China were initially on the list, but starting from the 20th level, only he and Choi Chul-sung remained. Lee Hwa-young mentioned that the difference in their levels was minor, with his status window indicating level 25. He had 223 stamina, 573 plus 3 agility, 1033 plus 3 strength, 1 concentration, 1 mana, and 732 extra points. His achievements included Brave Novice, King of Power Skills, Butterfly Effect, and First Level Armor. He decided to allocate all his points into concentration, and the system message confirmed the successful application of additional points to the concentration attribute, bringing it to 733. Grinning, the main character remarked that no one could be the king just yet. He believed that the Emperor Achievement M was obtained when reaching 1000 points in a specific stat, and upon surpassing 1000 strength, he acquired the King of Strength achievement, along with the petrification skill previously possessed by Emperor Yong-song-wai. Enveloped in a red aura, Lee Hwa-young pondered that a level 334 player would have a total of 1000 stat points. Considering that a level 21 dungeon had just been cleared, it was highly unlikely that a player of that level existed. With a smile, Kim Min-soo commended the main character's choice and emphasized the importance of concentration. The main character acknowledged the significance of concentration in hand-to-hand combat, realizing that a high concentration would enhance the effectiveness of his other attributes, allowing for better dodging and identifying opponents' weaknesses. Additionally, concentration proved valuable when unable to use skills. The main character stood with hands clasped and eyes closed, surrounded by a blue aura. With his hands comfortably tucked into the pockets of his shorts, Kim Min-soo inquired whether mana was necessary. After a brief pause, the main character responded that he hadn't depleted it yet. Kim Min-soo commended him for his wise use of skills, acknowledging that it was true. The main character believed that the mana attribute determined one's ability to absorb and utilize mana from the surrounding streams, and if managed correctly, it would be sufficient. He explained that he only used skills when absolutely necessary, thus conserving his mana. Rubbing his neck, he expressed the need to increase his stealth level. Kim Min-soo questioned why they shouldn't rush in and swiftly clean up. In response, the main character stated that they didn't need to create a commotion if there was a way to avoid it. He believed that torturing hostages was far less effective in gathering information compared to espionage and infiltration. With a sinister grin, Lee Hwa-young remarked that once his stealth reached the second level, they would be at the General Guild headquarters. Kim Min-soo suggested to the main character that he should consider dressing more appropriately now that he was stronger. Perplexed, the main character raised his jacket and inquired about the meaning behind Kim Min-soo's statement. Kim Min-soo explained that he needed something cool to showcase his strength. Lee Hwa-young responded with a smile, stating that he didn't require cool clothes because he was inherently cool himself. Kim Min-soo acknowledged this and believed that the clothes would make it more evident. Frustrated, the protagonist exhaled and requested Kim Min-soo to guide him. Surprisingly, Kim Min-soo agreed and, standing in front of the building's doors, mentioned rumors that the shop housed the best clothes for players venturing into dungeons. Upon entering, he gleefully shared that the store not only sold ordinary clothes but also unique items that would help them stand out from the crowd. In the room, 2 cross swords adorned the wall, and shelves displayed potions of various colors, their brilliance catching the light. Armor sets glistened on the shelves. While Kim Min-soo enthusiastically spoke, the main character surveyed the store. A store employee asked if they needed any assistance. Lee Hwa-young turned around, and Kim Min-soo eagerly approached the employee, explaining that they were seeking clothes that exuded exceptional coolness. The employee nervously twitched but agreed to assist them and gestured for them to follow. Triumphantly clutching a box of clothes, Kim Min-soo exclaimed in delight. The main character observed his happiness and offered to pay. Kim Min-soo happily agreed. The salesman apologized for his bluntness, bowed, and asked if he could offer the clothes for free as a gesture of gratitude for their visit. Grinning, the main character accepted. Kim Min-soo questioned if it was genuine as they exited the store, and Lee Hwa-young teasingly commented that Kim Min-soo couldn't have imagined that his reputation alone could earn him free clothing. Dressed in dark attire, including a raincoat, the main character strolled down the street alongside Kim Min-soo. He inquired about ways to improve his stealth level. Kim Min-soo responded by stating that the key to leveling up any skill is the level of proficiency. Perplexed, the main character inquired about its meaning, to which Kim Min-soo explained that it referred to understanding and skillfully applying the skill. Lee Hwa-young questioned whether this meant that simply using the skill repeatedly would lead to improvement on its own. Kim Min-soo clarified that skills also have a point system. The main character pondered the concept of proficiency points while considering the increase in skill level. A notification from the system appeared, displaying a blue message stating that the proficiency level of the strength skill had been elevated. Kim Min-soo interjected, explaining that when proficiency increases from a specific action, that action itself is referred to as a proficiency point. Contemplatively, Lee Hwa-young remarked that those who have regressed in skill level have prior knowledge of actions that enhance skill proficiency. He inquired about what he should do. Amidst the bright night streets of the city, adorned with shining stars, the main character and Kim Min-soo continued their journey. A blue system message hovered above the dungeon portal, indicating the presence of goblins and orcs in the dungeon. The message specified that there were 11 goblins and 8 orcs, with a maximum of 4 players allowed and a difficulty rating of D. Numerous gates scattered throughout the world featured the same monsters. Even if one goblin and orc dungeon were cleared, the remaining ones would persist. Walking on the stone floor after descending the stairs near the red portal, the main character regarded the Goblin and Orc dungeon as his experimentation ground. Goblins were considered the weakest enemies in the game, and thus many of these gates were left uncleared to assist beginners. Lee Hwa-young acknowledged that these monsters posed no threat to him and deemed it a suitable choice. As they progressed, something caught their attention, an enraged, massive orc. Contemplating what action would satisfy the game's creator, the main character activated the stealth skill, rendering himself invisible. Confused, the orc scanned its surroundings. The main character then utilized the armor skill, observing that his skin turned black and he became visible once again. Realizing that he couldn't use both skills simultaneously, he considered that it might be too powerful. Lee Hwa-young used stealth once more and brandished a dagger. Positioned behind the orc, enveloped in a blue aura, he leapt at it, swinging the dagger and plunging it into the orc's neck. A system message appeared, notifying the main character that the proficiency level in the first level of the stealth skill had increased. The message also indicated that he had altered the future and obtained an additional point. Suspended in midair above the falling orc, the main character disengaged from the combat. Lee Hwa-young questioned if it was genuinely that simple. Noticing Kim Min-soo standing next to the shivering orc on the ground, he speculated that this simplicity might only apply to the first level. The main character retrieved his dagger from the orc's neck, resulting in another system message confirming an increase in proficiency in the first level of the stealth skill. The message reiterated that he had altered the future and acquired an extra point. The proficiency level in the first level of the stealth skill had now increased. The main character declared that he had reached the second level of stealth, which made all objects touching his body invisible. The duration of the effect was proportional to his monostat, enveloped in a red aura. Satisfied, he asked Kim Min-soo about the location of the General Guild headquarters. Kim Min-soo responded that they were in Gangnam District, grinning. The main character remarked that they were in a wealthy area as the afternoon sun bathed the high-rise buildings. Invisibility shrouded Lee Hwa-young as he followed the two individuals, with a line of expensive sports cars lining the street nearby. Taking in the surroundings, he surmised that this must be the entrance. The blue-haired individual informed the blonde-haired person that due to Lee Hwa-young's actions, they were left with nothing all the time. In response, the blonde-haired person stated that Lee Hwa-young was actually saving the world and advised the blue-haired individual to pretend to participate in the guild's activities while still receiving payment. Laughing, he added that if anyone had overheard their conversation, they would have been immediately expelled. As they approached the guard, the blonde-haired person swiped a card across the keyboard panel, causing the door to open. And they entered with two other individuals, including the unseen protagonist. The blue-haired person's eyes widened in surprise, prompting the guard to inquire about what had happened. The blonde-haired person reassured the guard that everything was fine and that he had merely thought he saw something. Lee Hwa-young felt relieved and decided it was time to go. Observing a sign on the wall indicating the ground floor is the lobby, the second floor is a strategic block, and the third floor is a conference hall, he realized where he needed to go. A voice emanating from the speakers announced that the morning meeting would commence at 9:30 and requested all officials in the building to gather in the conference room. Hearing the sound, Lee Hwa-young turned around thoughtfully near the elevator, recognizing that he now knew his destination. A man at the podium declared that the meeting was officially open on January 14th. Folding his arms, the main character realized that there were many people present and understood that this would not be the last time he would encounter them. He resolved to memorize as much as he could. A brown-haired individual wearing armor informed a red-haired person that there would be no chapter that day because he was in a level 23 dungeon. Concerned, the red-haired person asked if he was working too hard. A sign in front of them indicated their rank as A, and a light brown-haired person asked if he was alright, adding that he would undoubtedly be tired. Another individual remarked that no one could accompany him, so he had to go alone. A person with medium-length dark hair mentioned that the day when their leader would obtain the Eye of God was approaching. Upon hearing the mention of the Eye of God, Lee Hwa-young tensed up. The blonde-haired person coughed and inquired about the progress of their training. The blue-eyed individual crossed his arms and replied that they had nothing to prepare. The green-hooded person agreed, emphasizing the need to keep an eye on the young one. The blue-eyed individual responded, expressing frustration that the young one's name always came up in every meeting. The gray-haired person remarked that it was because they couldn't even catch him and asked if anyone knew his whereabouts. The vice head of the General Guild, named Young Hansing, questioned how they could apprehend him if they couldn't even determine that much. Lee Hua-young smiled, realizing that he was present. Hansing placed his glass on the table and stated that they had already granted him the stealth ability, sacrificing the dagger. He asked if they knew what would happen if they also gave him the Eye of God. The person on the stage explained that they were currently unable to ascertain Lee Hua-young's location but expressed confidence that he would appear at the designated spot to obtain the Eye of God. He urged everyone to remain composed. Young Hansing clenched his teeth and cursed, declaring that he was much stronger than in his previous life. He slammed the papers on the table and demanded to know what Lee Hua-young was up to and how he had become so powerful, questioning how they could catch him without knowing all of this. On the paper was a picture of the main character giving the middle finger, accompanied by the title, Strength 1033. Young Hansing urged them to look at it and asked if they believed that a strength of 1033 units was real. Closing his eyes and massaging the back of his head, he expressed doubt that there was any confirmation of the truth behind Lee Hua-young's actions. He believed that Lee Hua-young intentionally wanted to scare off the players who were hunting him, but he insisted that Lee Hua-young wasn't that kind of person. Instead, he preferred that they directly confront him. He requested a more detailed explanation of their plan. The man on the stage reacted by forcefully placing his papers on the podium, explaining that it contained a record of everything Lee Hua-young had done in his previous life. He revealed that Lee Hua-young obtained the Eye of God on April 17 in the level 34 Black Ogre dungeon, resulting in the deaths of 4 of their players. One individual raised his hand, identifying himself as Han Wang, who was killed by Lee Hua-young in the Black Ogre dungeon. 3 others also raised their hands: a girl named Li Jin with dark hair, a guy named Park Kwang Hho with slicked back blonde hair, and a guy with white hair named Goong Hyan. Li Yujin, the girl with dark hair, mentioned that there must be a rare skill in the A-rank Black Ogre dungeon, prompting the headmaster to send a group there. She revealed that Lee Hua-young was already present in the dungeon but wasn't a famous player at that time, so they ignored him. Li Yujin recalled their encounter with the main character, noting that they told him to leave. Park Kwang-ho expressed dislike towards the main character, who responded with indifference. Go Sang-hai stated that he was angry about the situation, while Park Kwang-ho trembled with fear. Li Yujin mentioned that they were familiar with the monsters in the dungeon and were certain that the Eye of God would appear there. She credited their group for providing this information to the General Guild and added some additional details they discovered after the regression. Lee Hua-young glanced at the papers in the hands of the man behind the podium, realizing that everything was written there, including the gate's location and the monsters' weaknesses. A system message confirmed that he had changed the future and gained an extra point. The main character grinned happily. Choi Chul-sung rested his chin on his hands and smirked as he asked what they wanted. Li Jin frowned and explained that they heard the headmaster plan to go to the dungeon alone, but only their group and Lee Hua-young knew about it. She asked for a chance to take Lee Hua-young's life in return with the Eye of God. Choi Chul-sung expressed amusement at her attitude and inquired about their plan. Li Jin revealed that they intended to introduce the SA2 Ogre. Another person exclaimed that the SA2 Ogre was banned by the World Association and questioned if they wanted to destroy their guild. Li Yujin clarified that they needed to use the SA2 Ogre to stop Lee Hua-young, and they would manipulate the Black Ogres to kill him. Park Kwang-ho stated that they would assist in the plan and retrieve the Eye of God. Lee Hua-young sent a message on his phone, wondering if they wanted to die once again. Kim Min-soo, looking at the surprising message on his phone, caught the main character's attention, who asked him to gather information about the SA2 Ogre.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more content. Feel free to leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts or suggestions. If you want to stay updated on all our latest uploads, click the notification bell icon. And hey, why not check out some of our other videos popping up on the screen right now? If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really means a lot. Peace.